Welcome to the Hour Show once again on NDD TV. On previous segments, we were privileged to speak to the music legend, Nana Adabuga. His revelations led us to speak to Mr. Matthew Adabuga from Norway from last week, as you could remember. All the way from Ghana now, we have in the studio another influential man, a very close ally, and a mediator during the revolution of 1981. We have listened to you all, we have listened to your phone calls, and we are now privileged, not only privileged, but honored to speak to a very, very influential man, a captain, as a matter of fact, Captain Joe Awuni, all the way from Ghana. Welcome, Captain.
Thank you very much.
It is a pleasure, and I believe you're enjoying the sunny weather here in the UK.
Well, you can't rely on the UK weather. It's sunny one time and cold the other time.
Oh, really? But how are you faring all the same? Are you okay?
No, I'm fine. I'm fine, yes.
All right. I don't know whether you've been privileged or you've had a chance to watch some of the interviews we've had in the likes of Nana Adabuga to Matthew Adabuga. I don't know, have you had the chance to watch some of them?
Yes, I saw that of Matthew because he sent me a clip of it.
Okay.
Yeah, but the other person?
And Nana Adabuga.
Yes, I was told about his.
Okay, all right. Well, we were probably, most viewers, kind of send us a lot of messages, and we have to read through all of them. A lot of phone calls came through as well. And it was quite important for us to now cross-check some of the facts with you, since you were probably one of the inner circle to Rawlings' revolution in terms of negotiating with himself and Matthew Adabuga and the other troops. So first of all, I would like to ask, how did you get yourself involved in the whole revolution?
Well, on the 31st December, I was still in the Jungle Warfare School as a training officer with other officers. And we had the information that there had been a takeover. And later on, our commanding officer, the late Colonel Robert Dagon, came back from a holiday. In fact, he had gone on a holiday because it was the Christmas period.
Okay.
Came back and then, we had to start strategizing what to do. Because those days, anytime there was any issue, the Jungle Warfare School was almost like a target.
Okay.
So we had to strategize as to what to do. So all of us had to, report back to the unit. And I think for the next 4 or so days, we had no information at all from Accra. But after a week or so, Ghana Coup decided that it was important that we got to know what was happening. Mm-hmm. So he actually dispatched late Major Kwashiga and now Brigadier General Paddington retired to Accra to go and find out what was going on. Well, they came back and reported to him, and as far as we were concerned, that was it. We had to carry on with our normal duties. But after a while, there were certain responsibilities that had to be carried out on the instructions of the government at the time. And my commanding officer actually tasked me a number of times to perform certain duties. And those were like civic responsibilities that we had to undertake on behalf of the government. So that is how I actually got directly involved. But like every other serving, soldier, we're supposed to be ready to serve, the country.
Okay. Were you aware prior to the revolution, 31st, were you informed? Because with Matthew, he was the pivotal center of the whole revolution. How were you, your own side, because I believe you were at Achasi camp or something like that.
The Jungle Warfare School.
The Jungle Warfare School. During that period, were you aware of it? Were you aware of anything of that nature happening in taking over government?
No. Personally, I wasn't aware. Okay. I don't know about the others, but I didn't get the impression that they were also aware. Because I think if they were, they probably would have been moving to Accra within 24 hours or something like that. So I wasn't aware at all.
Do you know anyone by name Chris Asher?
Yes.
All right. I've read his book.
Yes.
And in his book, he referred to Rawlings coming to Adabuga, which is a festival celebrated. I believe he was a chief at his town. And he was of the view that something of that sort will be emerging. And Rawlings wanted some top officials or good army officers to assist him in taking over. Your name came up. Why do you think your name came up in that conversation?
This is the first time I'm hearing this.
Okay.
Well, it would be difficult to say why, but I suppose if you are being picked up for an operation, then it suggests that you are capable of, carrying out the operation.
All right.
Because whatever it is that the commander wants to achieve, it is to succeed or achieve the aim for that operation, and therefore you have to gather the people that would enable you to achieve that.
Did you ever arrest Chris Asher? Were you ever involved in the arrest of Chris Asher?
Yes. Well, yeah, you can call it arrest. The first, there were two instances.
Okay.
The first one was when I was sent a message through my commanding officer to go and check out his palace because Chris Asher was hoarding cement.
Okay.
And I thought, this is ridiculous, but I had been given an order.
From who?
Well, it came through my CEO.
Who was your CEO?
Ghana Coup.
Okay.
So I thought I couldn't say no without going there. So I drove over to Chris Asher's palace, and before I entered, I saw part of the wall was down, So I started thinking, if he has cement over there and that's a palace, he's probably going to be building the wall up with the cement. So I got in there, and Chris Asher told me, I'll call him Chris Asher, but he's supposed to be called Nana, isn't it?
Yeah.
He told me that he has some cement over there, and he showed me the cement. And I think what I counted wouldn't have been anything more than 50 bags.
Okay.
And I thought 50 bags were not even enough to rebuild that wall. So he said, well, Captain, there you are. If they say I'm hoarding cement, there you are. I just looked at it and spoke to my Sergeant Major who was with me.
Okay.
And I said, look, I'm not sure I'm going to follow this through. And then Chris Asher told me that he also had a place, the mom was in Agona Swedru. So we thought, okay, that could be another hiding place
Of
the cement.
Okay.
Keeping the cement. I just wanted to make sure that we had done our job properly. So we drove over to Agona Swedru, went to the house. The house needed more than, cement. So I came back and reported to my CEO that I wouldn't say that he was hoarding cement. Before he even spoke, I had said that he needed cement to do his wall. That was a chief's palace. And the palace needs to be protected by a wall, and the wall had fallen.
What has it got to do with the hoarding of cement? I mean,
well, those days...
Was the government supplying people with cement for governmental purposes, or...?
Well, those days, the whole story was people would use their positions to acquire stuff and then resell at 3 or 4 times the price. So maybe that's what he was doing. So that was the first one. Yeah. So I reported, and that was the end of it.
Okay.
Then...
Was he arrested?
No.
Okay.
No.
So you saved him by not...
You wouldn't say I saved him. He didn't have to be arrested. I mean, for me, that was a chief, a big man. You just don't go there and say this and just arrest him.
Did he ever train you?
Chris Asher?
Yeah.
He didn't train me.
He never trained you?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, that's fine. How did you get involved with Major Yachi?
Okay. Did you want me to say the second part of...
Okay. Well, continue with that.
Yes.
Because you said he never trained you, so I thought that was the end of it.
No. I mean, he was a civilian. I mean, I met him as a civilian.
Okay. So how did he have weapons? Then probably his story in his book probably doesn't tally up. Probably at the end of this segment, I will let you have a peep through with some of the information I had from the book.
Well, did he say I gave him weapons or he gave me weapons?
Well, not exactly, no, not really. But there were instances he had weapons on him.
Okay.
And I'm quite concerned why he had weapons on him.
Well, that question should be answered by him.
Yeah, I was
because
quite
I think there are ways that individuals or civilians can possess weapons. They need to have license for them. It isn't just any weapon at all that you can have, but for hunting weapons. And
why was he so much affiliated in the whole thing, if he was just a chief?
Okay, so there was this second instance when I was asked to go and get him and take him to Accra.
Okay.
And I wasn't told why. I was just, a message came from Accra, from Gonda Barracks, saying that he should be sent to Accra. And unfortunately, it happened to be me going to do that. So I went over to him, and he had an office in Odan. So I went over to his office, and as soon as I entered the office, he said, "Oh yeah, Captain, I know why you're here. I know why you're here." I said, "Oh, what do you think I'm here for?" He said, "Well, I know you're coming to pick me up." I said, "Okay, you are being invited to Accra, and I have to, make sure that you go." So he said, okay, he was ready. And as he was packing his stuff, I told him I was going outside to wait for him. Now, when I opened his door, I could see the whole front, and it was milling with people, And I think they all realized that soldiers had come to his place, and they were going to arrest him and probably manhandle him. But that wasn't our style. We had to do things with respect. So I went back to him and asked him to hold on, and that I was going to sit in the vehicle and he could come, because I hadn't been asked to arrest him. What I was told was, send him to Accra, So I got into the vehicle.
Were you alone?
No, I had 2 soldiers with me and the driver, so 3 of us. I got into the vehicle, and he was in such a hurry, and he came down very quickly. And when he came down, I asked him to sit in front of the vehicle, which is normally given to the senior person. But I wanted it to look a respectable scene, not soldiers, doing what people were expecting, slap and molest him. And he said no, he wasn't going to sit there. So we made him sit by the tailgate. Mm-hmm. Now, if someone is a prisoner, you don't put him at the tailgate because he can easily jump. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, but we made him sit by the tailgate, and we drove up to our chance. I mean, we were not bothered at all about anything. So we got him there, and it was getting late. So it was the next day that we got him. I got him dispatched to Accra. I sent a vehicle plus 2.
So at Achasi police station,
Achasi Jungle Warfare School.
Well, okay, but at that Jungle Warfare School, he had a gun on him.
No. Well, I didn't inspect him.
Okay.
I didn't inspect him.
Was he tortured at all?
No.
Was he questioned?
No. So, if he was asked questions, that I would know, but I didn't. I didn't ask him a thing.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. How did you get yourself involved with Major Yachi?
Well, okay. So it was around 23rd November. I was in the school, and I had previously been in
Is this 1981?
82.
82?
Yes.
So
82.
We've jumped. Okay, you carry on. We will draw you back to 19.
No problem.
Yeah. All right, that's fine.
So I had a message to report in Accra, and normally if I got a message like that, it was to go and carry out a special duty. So I went and spoke with my CEO, and he said, yeah, why am I wasting time? Am I doing something? I said, no, sir. He said, okay, then just get going. So I took off, got to the Army headquarters in Accra. Then it was in the Flagstaff House, now part of what is called the Jubilee House. So I got there, and I said I had been asked to come to Accra. And before I could even sit around for another 10 minutes, I was told there was a helicopter outside waiting to pick me up to the castle.
Okay.
So I said, okay. So I got into the helicopter. Then I was flown to the castle. And when I got there, I had to go and see the chairman, then Flight Lieutenant Rawlings. So I walked into his office, and he had one soldier with him. There was a sergeant. I can't remember his name, but there was a sergeant in the room with him. And the first thing he told me was, go and see. Burma camp is surrounded by people with bows and arrows. I thought, what? Burma camp, soldiers, and is surrounded by people with bows and arrows. So I wanted to smile, but
You didn't believe him.
Yes. So he said, go and see. They've surrounded people, the place with bows and arrows. So I said, okay. And I sat down. I said, I want you to go and do something about it. Go and do something about it. I said, so what should I do? He said, whatever you have to do. They surrounded the place with bows and arrows. So go and do something. And I sat down for a while. I started thinking, but why me? I thought, okay, why not me? So I said, all right. I said, so what else? He said, go and disarm them. The force commander has been there and they will not listen to him. Courage has been there and they are not minding him. And this is late Major Kwashiga. You know, his first name is Courage.
Okay.
And then he mentioned one or two other officers. And I said to myself, those are all seniors to me. And if the guys are not listening to them, why me?
Who were these guys?
Okay. Included in that group was Jiwa,
Okay.
Aliu, Eric Asare, then Brahma Isaka, and Akatapore. You know, at the time, I didn't know.
Where was Adabuga?
I didn't know where he was at the time.
Did
but
you
I was
know
just
him?
telling you the story.
Did you know him?
Well, I had heard his name.
Okay.
I hadn't met him face to face.
Okay.
So I said, okay, so I'm going to disarm them. And then what? He said, yes, and they want Adabuga with them. So I'll give you Adabuga to take to them. When they give you their weapons, you can give Adabuga to them. I said, okay, sir. So then after that, what? He said, whatever. I stood there for a while, and I said, should I put in the guard room? No guard room. But whatever they want to do, no guard room. I said, that's good enough. Because talking about guard room would have been another issue.
Yeah.
That was in my unit, and I hadn't arranged anything. So I said, okay. He said, Matthew is given to you. He's going to be, he's going with you to Burma camp. The helicopter is outside there. So I said, okay. Sir, when I've finished, I'll come back. He didn't mind me, so I walked out.
When he was at the point telling you, Matthew is right there, a helicopter is waiting for you, where did you think Matthew was?
Well, obviously he wasn't in the office,
Okay.
but I thought he was under arrest somewhere. In the castle. We're talking about castle now.
I understand.
Yeah.
Didn't you question him, Matthew is going to come with me? Who is Matthew? Since you've only heard of him, why would you have to take him to disarm the guys?
Well, sometimes you don't ask those questions.
Why not?
Why not? Because it can give wrong impressions, as if, you know, you prepared your questions for certain, you prepared answers or questions for certain situations. And I wanted to be like a loyal soldier or officer, do what I was supposed to do. All he said was, go and disarm them and then release Adabuga to them. What was difficult about that? Adabuga could have been anybody. I didn't know who were even in the group. I didn't know them. But all I wanted to do at the time, his aim, what he told me, which was his aim, was to disarm the soldiers.
Were you not quite surprised to see some of the top soldiers, as you earlier mentioned, they couldn't disarm them?
Yes.
And this is a man telling you to do whatever.
Yes.
He's instructing you to jeopardize your own life. You were not even sure of what you were going to encounter.
Yes.
And you wouldn't want to ask him any question simply because you want to be loyal to him?
Not loyal to him, loyal to the system. At that time, he was the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces. My CEO and all the other senior officers were saluting him. And I was only a small captain.
Okay. Okay, carry on. I understand now.
Okay, so he tells me this, and he says you can go. Then he tells the sergeant who was in his office to go with me.
Okay.
So I got out, and there was Matthew. Because I thought the way he was standing, that had to be Matthew.
How was he standing?
No, he was standing like he had been restricted in a way. You know, when somebody is taken out of detention, you have a certain demeanor. And the way I saw him, he had actually been, cooled to a certain point.
Tortured, you mean?
Not tortured. He didn't look tortured. But if you confine someone who is usually free and doing things, he's not going to look normal, in situations like this.
Okay.
Yeah. So we were put in the helicopter, and we were heading to Burma camp. Yeah. Now, I would have thought from the castle to Gonda Barracks was going to take us 10, maximum 15 minutes. But we were in the air, circling and going round and round and round.
Why?
I don't know. But I didn't have any headset, so I couldn't be talking to the pilot. But eventually, we landed. We landed in Gonda. And so I had to start my task, get down from the aircraft.
Just before you do that, since you were just circling round and round and round, did you at any point during that time speak to Matthew Adabuga?
No.
So you were all silent in the helicopter?
Yes. I didn't know what was going on.
And you wouldn't ask him a question?
No.
How many were you in the flight?
There were 3 of us.
The pilot, Adabuga, and yourself?
I think there were two guys, 2 pilots.
Okay.
Adabuga, myself, and then the sergeant from Rawlings' office.
Okay.
Yeah. I think, there were 3 of us on the back.
And you were all dead silent?
Everybody was quiet. I mean, now, how many times did I say the Lord's Prayer? I can't remember. But we were hoping that...
Were you frightened?
I wasn't frightened. I was a bit apprehensive about what I was doing. But I knew there wasn't at any point that I had to say I was backing down or not going to carry out an instruction. What kind of soldier would I be to say that I can't go, I can't take an order? So I was just going. Yeah. So, and in the aircraft, we couldn't have been talking because it was quite noisy. So.
But how was the whole reaction with Adabuga? I mean, he's now been released from detention.
Yes.
You are now flying to a base where most of his people were waiting for him.
Yeah.
How was the feeling like? You saw demeanors in him where you saw that he has been restricted. Now he's been released and he's going with you. How was he in the whole flight? Did you see any animosity or hostility, probably joyous moment?
He didn't show any of those. The face was blank. I looked at him once or twice, and I could see that it was blank. But in circumstances like this...
Was it scary?
Me looking at him that way?
Yeah.
No, I wasn't scared. I wasn't scared at all.
But you didn't even know who this man is. I'm sure you've heard he was in the center of that 1981, the 31st December thing. I'm sure you heard it.
Yes.
So you've met the man face to face.
Yes.
And you weren't worried?
But why should I be worried?
You were.
That's a soldier. I'm an officer. I'm senior to him. Why should I be worried?
Yeah, exactly so.
Yes, I wasn't worried. I didn't have to be worried. And if anything at all, at that time, I was the only one who was armed.
Not the sergeant?
No.
Anything. Just
the sergeant, I think he had a pistol. But I had my AK-47 behind me with 3 magazines.
Magazines?
Yes, with rounds.
Okay.
Yes. So I was armed. I was fully armed.
And you were going to fire anybody?
Well, I mean...
You were all going to die, would you?
In circumstances like that, you don't start thinking of dying, even though it is a possibility. You don't want to die. No soldier goes to battle and says, I want to go and die. No. But if you make your mind that you're afraid of dying, then you better don't go at all,
Okay.
because it's a possibility.
All right.
And that is the frame of mind I was in,
Okay.
you know, not worry about what was going to happen. I looked at him and I thought, a lot of things went through my mind. You know, why was this happening?
Exactly.
But he wasn't the one I had to ask, because there was someone sitting there who was escorting us.
Didn't you speak to the sergeant?
No, because I met the sergeant in Rawlings' office. So it was obvious that he was under the command of, direct command of Rawlings as well.
Okay.
So I wouldn't want to say anything which would be misinterpreted later.
So you were flying all over. Just a flight of duration of 10 minutes took you how long?
Yeah, about 20, 25 or so minutes.
And everyone was dead, silent.
Yeah.
Okay. Flight landed.
Yes.
What happened?
Well, I got down, and I remember, well, I didn't know about Rambo then, but later on, I thought I was walking like Rambo with my weapon behind me. And I was walking towards this mass of soldiers. There were about 300 to 400 of them standing, you know, one corner of Kunda Barracks. And I had heard the place had been surrounded by people with bows and arrows, but here were soldiers, and all of them in black beret, you know, the Recce regiment, they were the black beret. And I started walking towards them. And I don't know how long my strides were, because the helicopter had taken off. And these were the guys over there. And I had to just go there. My first action was to disarm them.
Hold on. Helicopter had taken off.
Yeah.
With Adabuga in or out?
Inside.
So you were just on the ground?
Yes.
Okay, carry on.
Yeah.
It's getting excited.
It's getting excited.
Yeah, it's very, very exciting.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. So you were then going to now talk to them?
Yes.
To drop their weapons?
Well, we don't drop weapons. I was going to disarm them. So I got to them. I got to this lot, and they were standing there, and the first person I wanted to speak with was a Katapore.
Okay.
And I started speaking fra with him. Hey, they all shouted, hey, speak English, speak English. I said, yeah, by all means. I knew that would happen. You know, I asked him, you know, he's quite smallish. So I said, Danny, what is going on? What is going on? He said, sir, I don't know. They've taken Afghan. They've taken Afghan. And I thought, okay, so Afghan is Matthew. That was his nickname, you know. So I said, yes. He said, they've taken him. We want him to be brought back to us. If they don't want us in the service, then they can let us go. But what is this? They've taken him. We don't know where he is. I said, but that's why I've come. He said, yes, I was told that you were coming. They've sent some other people to come and talk to us. We're not minding it. So you two come. What have you got to tell us? I said, cool it. He said, sir, we're waiting for you. I said, okay, I need your weapons. He said, what weapons? I said, your personal weapons. He said, but we don't have any personal weapons. I said, you have personal weapons, and I want them. So Akatapore turned around somewhere, and then he grabbed someone's G3. G3 is a rifle, which is like a personal rifle for soldiers. So he grabbed one and gave it to him. I said, that would do. Then I gave it to one of the officers who was on the armored car. Then I said, Brahma, bring your weapon. Brahma came and said, but they're taking it. I said, bring your weapon. So he also grabbed a weapon and gave it to me. I gave the second one to the guys. Then I said, Eric Asari, your weapon. He said, sir, I don't have a weapon. I said, you have a weapon. So I got one from him too. Then Alidu was standing there. I said, bring your weapon, Alidu. Then he brought me a weapon. Then he got to Jiwa. Jiwa stood there, and then he lifted a G3 and gave it to me as if he had it ready. So this, like I've just said now, took about 30 minutes or so, you know, talking back and forth, back and forth. So after that, they said, okay, sir, now we want Afghan to join us. You said you will let him. I said, okay. So I pretended I was counting, you know, the number that I had over. I said, okay, I've done the first part, which was to disarm them. So I said,
So you disarmed over 400 soldiers?
No.
Just
The group, that group.
Okay.
Yes. I couldn't have disarmed all of them over there because a lot of them were on guard duties.
Okay.
But I was asked to disarm the group that was causing the problem at the time. And I had done that. So my next part 2 of my job was now to go and release Adabuga and let him join his colleagues. So now I had to trek back to the helipad. And as I was approaching the helipad, the helicopter was still hovering, quite high. So I was signaling, I was doing this. God would not mind me. Then he looked out the window, saw me, I said, "You will not mind me." Hey, I thought, this is not good.
What have you got to yourself?
Yes, I said, this is not good. But I thought, no, I think something has to happen. One thing that came into my mind was to whip my AK to the front. All this time it was behind me. I wanted to bring it to the front so it wouldn't look like I was joking, but I thought it wasn't a good idea. So I signaled again. I did this, and then he came about 2 or 3 feet off the ground. He said, "You can't take him. You can't take him." I said, "I can't do what?" He said, "You can't take him." I said, "What do you mean? That's the agreement. I'm supposed to take Adabuga." And I was shouting this time because of the sound of the rotor blades. He said, Force Commander said, "You cannot take him." I said, "Yes, I can." But he had been strapped in. So how was I going to do it? And I felt like getting on to unbuckle him. But I thought if I did, he could easily lift up. And if he did lift up, it would appear like I was running away. I had come to disarm them, and I was running. I had to think really fast. So I stood there and I said, "No, I have to take him." Then he went up a little bit and then came down. I said, "Go and get Major Yache." I said, "But how did Major Yache come into this?" I said, "Pardon?" He said, "Chairman says you go and get Major Yache." I said, "Okay." So, and then when he said that, he lifted up again. Oh my goodness. And I thought my second part wasn't happening. So now I had to trek back to where these guys were standing. I don't know how long it was taking me, but I got there and they said, "Where's Afghan? Where's Afghan?" I said, "Hold on, I'm looking for Major Yache." So they started following me, and I thought, if I'm not careful, I'm going to be torn to shreds over here, because I could see the anger in their faces. So I started walking towards the headquarters, the Recce headquarters. Then I saw Major Yache coming. I thought, what a welcome sight. So I saluted him. And I said, "Sir, you're supposed to come and get Adabuga off the helicopter." He said, "Yes, he's been told." I said, "Okay, sir, then let's go." So
that was probably your prayers answered in that way.
At that time.
Yeah, you thought as much.
Yes, at that time. So I walked with him, and we're approaching the helipad. Then the helicopter was still hovering high. Then I signaled. And then we stood there for a while, then the helicopter came down. The annoying thing was the fact that it was blowing dust on us as well. But what could you do? I think I didn't feel it. It was later on I realized that, hey, I was all dusty, red dust and everything. Anyway, so the helicopter landed, and Adabuga was released. And now he was walking between us, back to the group. And when we got there, hey, they just lifted him off the ground and they were jubilating, For the next 5 to 10 minutes, they were just singing and jubilating. So I thought, hey, this is something else, I stood there. Then Akatapore came in and said, "Sir, what are we doing next? Now we've got Ama, what are we doing next?" And I scratched my hair a little bit. I said, I spoke with Major Yache. I said, "Sir, can I brief you?" He said, "No, you carry on, whatever you do." I said, "Okay." I said, "So whose quarter is closest to this place?" I said, Brahma's quarter is here. I said, "Okay, let's go there."
Okay.
So I bundled all these guys to the place. Major Yache followed us. to Brahma's place. Now it was about 4 o'clock, and they started asking, what were we going to do? Were we going to the guard room? And I thought, no. Major Yache asked me, and I said, no. Now he's General Yache anyway, but I'm calling him Major Yache because of those days. And I said, no, because I started worrying. If I put them in the guard room, I would have been in there, and it would have been easy to get rid of them. Nobody could have told what would have happened. So I thought it was better to be outside. Anyway, so I said, no guard room. So we start outside Brahma's quarter, till it was dark. Before it got dark, these guys said they wanted to bath. So I sent Adabuga to go and have his bath. He came back. The others went one after the other. It was only a Katapore. I said he wasn't going because his place was so far away. So I thought, no, I wasn't going to send him that way. I didn't have any escorts, and I didn't know what would have happened. So he didn't have his bath. After all, we're going to be there through the night. So that is how the first day, ended. And we actually stayed there till the next morning. Now, that night, there was a bit of drama, because these guys, they were lying on the floor, fast asleep. Major Yache was sitting on the veranda with his head against the wall, and I thought, a whole major, with his back to the wall, and I had to sit outside. Now the captain, I was armed. I was now the guard, I was now on guard duties. I was the guard because I didn't know how else to do it. So I stayed awake throughout that night. Now at about 2 a.m., between 2 and 3, there were all kinds of movements around, and I wasn't
what sort of movement?
Like people, I would say people, but obviously they were soldiers. You see, the quarter, one side of the quarter had a lot of bush, so no lighting in that area.
Okay.
So you wouldn't see, but the grass was dry.
All right.
So, people walking on things and breaking twigs and things, you could hear. And it was
terrifying.
Well, yes, because I was in the light, and whoever was moving around was in the dark. So I was the only one outside the quarter. Everybody else was inside. And if anybody wanted to pick me up, I was easy meat, But I couldn't go inside as well. There was no room in that quarter. All the guys were there sleeping. And Major Yache was on the veranda. I couldn't tell the whole major to give me away. So, poor captain, I had to sit out there.
At this point, you were still not sure what to do next.
No. Well,
but you had Major Yache with you, and you were supposedly to get more instructions or briefing from him.
Okay.
And he seemed to be also clueless about what next to do.
I don't think. Since then, we haven't sat down for even 5 minutes to say we are talking about this. Because it's a long story, so, we haven't sat down to talk about it. But he didn't give an impression that he knew what was going on. And then when I said, in fact, I was very relieved that he had come, because now I could pass on power, shift power to him, because he was a senior person.
Okay.
He actually trained me in the Jungle Warfare School as well,
okay.
When I was a junior officer. So I saw him as my boss too. And he told me he didn't know what was going on, so I should carry on with my instructions, whatever instructions I was given. That's what he told me. I couldn't challenge him, so I said, okay, sir. But everything that I thought about doing, I would pass it by him. And he never said no to anything. Like in the morning, we would do this or that. Anyway, so now day breaks, and we are sitting there and wondering what we were going to do next. But I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to go back to the chairman, Flight Lieutenant Rawlings, and tell him I had accomplished the mission that he had given me, and I wanted to know what was going to happen next. Yeah? But at least to report to him what had happened. He asked me to disarm them and release Adabuga to them. Okay. The second one about releasing Adabuga, I didn't do it by myself. If Major Yache hadn't been there, I don't know what would have happened. But that part had been accomplished. So I knew what I wanted to do. Now the soldiers were asking, I'm talking about the group now, they were asking what was going to happen. I said, I didn't know. All I wanted to do was to go and talk to Rawlings, and then we'll take it from there. So we sat down there till about 8:30, and then we were told the force commander, General Kwenu, was having a deba of soldiers in the barracks, the square for the Ghana barracks. So we thought, okay, we were not part of it, but what are we going to do? We just had to wait. After a while, I wasn't seeing anybody. So I decided that, look, we had to go and check out what was going on. And as I walked to the end of the block, I realized that the whole place was empty. So they had done the deba and gone. And I saw a soldier walking towards me, and I said, where's the force commander? He said, oh, he's finished the deba and it's gone. I said, what? But whose vehicles are those? And they said that that's for Colonel Kluche. He was the commander of the 1st Brigade. That's with headquarters in Peshi. He said those were his vehicles. So I decided that let me go and find out what was going on, because he probably would know. When I got to him, even before I could salute him, he said, follow the officer, go and arrest them. First time I had heard of arrest. I said, sir. He said, I'm saying that they should follow you and go and arrest them. I said, no, sir. Nobody is following me. Nobody is going to arrest anybody. He said, I said they should follow you and go and arrest them. I said, sir, let me go and join them, and then you come and arrest all of us.
Why did you decide to question now?
Why did I decide to question now?
No.
Because it was getting annoying. You see, and then I was getting desperate. Just imagine I hadn't slept through the night. So I was now hyper. And not knowing what was going on, I had
You had to put loyalty aside.
I had to question.
Okay. Let me bring you back, because now, after this, we are drifting into something else, and it might skip me. At no point at the castle did you have any conversation with Adabuga,
No.
where he made a statement specifically stating, I could have been the head of state.
No.
You never encountered
No.
and never discussed this with him?
No.
Okay. That was a very silence swift, isn't it, in terms of taking him to a helicopter, flying over, and landing. And at this point, where a day break, you had spent the night over there, and now you are questioning someone about the arrest.
Yes.
You've still not had any word with Adabuga?
Well, now he was in the group.
With Katapore?
Akatapore,
Brian?
Brahma, Eric Asare, Aliu, he was with his mates. And if I had to speak with any of them, it would have been Akatapore, who was the senior amongst them. But I thought, no, I didn't know anything, so I would rather not say anything.
Okay.
Because I didn't want to get influenced, and I knew that it could develop into anything. As it was, I had now been lumbered with them. And that was when Major Yache was asked to come and take Adabuga to them. You see, so I had been lumbered with these guys. Which, surprised me, but like at the time, I wasn't even thinking deep into all of those things. All I wanted to do was achieve. But the brigade commander was making me look funny.
How funny?
Funny because here it was, I hadn't had anything to do with him. My contact was with the chairman, and he had given instructions to the force commander, and I was told that. Then he comes in, and he doesn't even talk to me about anything, and he's talking about arrest. Now, just imagine this. So I leave these guys sitting there with Major Yache, and I go out to go and find out what was going on. The next minute, I'm walking back to them with soldiers to go and arrest them. What kind of Judas is that? I had to think very fast and to say no. That's why I said, let me go and join them, and then you can come and arrest. Then I know I'm there. You've arrested all of us. Yeah? And He didn't mind me. So I started going back because I realized I wasn't going to get anything from him. I started walking back. And then when I turned around, I saw a number of soldiers coming behind me. They were following me. So I turned and whipped my AK from my back. I just whipped it like that, and they all scattered. Because they didn't know what was going to happen. And I said, nobody should follow me. I really shouted. I said, nobody should follow me. Then I went back to join the group. When I got there, I said, sir, what's going on? And this, I think it was, I can't remember who it was, but it was probably Jiwa. Said, sir, what is going on? What is going on? I said, they want to come and arrest us. Sir, you see? If they want to arrest us, then you have to go with us. I said, no problem. So we sat down. I said, okay, now they should come and arrest. The next minute, what we saw was a file of soldiers. When we talk about a file, about 5 or so soldiers on one side, another 5, and they were coming towards us. These guys who were sitting down there, I had disarmed, just got scattered. I couldn't shout anymore. I was asking them to stop, freeze, that nothing was moving them. So eventually, within 3 minutes or so, they all came back to the spot. They had got lost, they came back to the spot, and they were carrying all kinds of guns. I don't know where they got them from, but there was an anti-tank weapon, there was a machine gun. As for the G3s, they had them, yes. The only one who had no weapon was a Akatapore, but all the others were armed. And I realized at that point that Adabuga and Jiwa were moving towards an armored car. And I knew their aim was to hit that armored car. And I thought, no, if they did, we will be mincemeat, because they would just flatten that place. So I kept shouting at them not to do anything. They should stop, stop, stop. I shouted stop, honestly, for about 5 minutes. You want a film out of that, Kept shouting. And Mejayache was just like that. I think he was very surprised. He didn't know what was going on. Anyway, you see, and he's a gentleman. So I wasn't surprised he was looking that way. Anyway, so after a while, the armored cars moved back. There were 2, I saw 2, moving from the bushes towards where we were sitting. They moved back. So these guys just came, and within some 15 minutes or so, the whole place went quiet again. And the weapons vanished. They came and sat down as if nothing had happened. As if they hadn't been holding weapons, earlier. Anyway, so we sat down, and we were all now thinking, what is going to happen? The next thing we saw was an aircraft flying very low. And it was just, I was just thinking, what could be done? Would they drop a bomb? Would they do something like that? I thought, if anybody had to open fire, it would cause a lot of damage, because it was flying into Bemakam from the Teshin area. Those days, that was uninhabited. We use it for training and that kind of thing. If it was flying the other way, I'm sure we would have been tempted to bring it down. I mean, assuming we felt they were going to.
At this point, did you feel that you've been misled?
Yes. I had been compromised. And I felt very angry that I virtually like being sacrificed. And from then on, I had to control myself. Yeah. So, okay. So we finished that and we're sitting down. And then we said, okay, they should come and do whatever they want to. They want to arrest, they should come and arrest. So we're sitting down. Nobody was coming. Nobody. We thought, somebody should do something. But I thought they weren't going to come. So I told Mejayache, I said, I think we have to go. Because it was getting to midday, and there hadn't been any breakfast, no sleep, no breakfast. So Mejayache said, okay, let's go out to, the square area. And we stood up. Mejayache and myself were in the center, and these boys flanked us. I called them boys. Those days they were boys. Now they are men. They flanked us. And we started moving out to where we thought the brigade commander was.
Right.
Then when we got there, he started shaking their hands and he said, don't worry, I'm going to take care of you.
Who was shaking your hand?
The brigade commander.
Okay.
Yeah. He shook their hands and said they should get into the vehicle. He's going to take care of them. No problem. He's going to take care of them. They should just relax. So I thought, okay. Then Major Yache and myself, we got into the vehicle as well. And we were escorted to Teshin, to the brigade headquarters. Now, when we got there, sat down for a while, and the whole place, as if there were no soldiers, the whole place was quiet, virtually dead, I met a friend, and he was asking what was going on. I said, you should tell me what is going on. Anyway, so I said, look, we are hungry, no breakfast. So he said, okay, he will try to get us some food. And then he brought what we call enemy chop. That was Gary. Yeah.
You call it what?
Enemy chop. When I say enemy chop, it means it doesn't taste that good.
Okay.
And the stew was green. So I assumed it was kotomre. I put my finger into the Gary and tried to tap into the green. I couldn't. So I think I had a little bit more of the Gary by itself.
Okay.
And I just sat back there and I started thinking hard, what are we going to do? Then someone came and told us that we were being taken to Michelle Camp, 1BN guard room. Said, why Michelle Camp guard room? And then another person came and mentioned it. So now these soldiers started writing certain, they said, sir, this one you have to do something about it too. You have to do something about it. This was Akatapora and the rest, You have to do something about it. I said, okay. What I could do, the first instance, was to go and see the chairman and find out what, he was planning, what his next move was. So they gave me certain ideas. If he didn't want them in the army anymore, we only had to discharge them. It's a simple thing. Just say that the service is no longer required. Like I got given, some years later, a couple of years later. And that would have been it. They would go home. Mm-hmm. But what were they going to be doing in the guard room? Anyway, so we're there when the brigade commander sent a message and that we had to go to 1BN. So we sat in this vehicle, and Major Yache, oh, poor him, he was in the vehicle with us. Armored car ahead of us, one behind us. And we were actually driving into Teshin. I don't know if you know La Scala Cinema. We got to a cinema. Those days, there was this cinema called La Scala. We just got outside there, and then the convoy stopped. And then they said, Rawlings wants to see them. So they started jubilating. That's all that they wanted. The worst he can do is to say, leave the service. Mm-hmm. So the convoy turned around. And on the way, we got to the ring road. And the convoy turned into a ring road. And I said, but Castle is straight on. Mm-hmm. But the lead vehicle had already turned. So we followed all the way into Army headquarters. And we're in the car park. We're there till about between 3 and 4, when someone came out and said they were supposed to be taken to Usherford. I said, what? Why Usherford? What is going on? Why Usherford? And I remember 3 officers coming and standing there and looking at me. And I said, what's going on? And these guys, then I said, this is against Nordness and accounts, and it cannot continue like that.
You told them?
Yes. I said it, and, and I meant it, because there are Nordness and accounts in the group. Anyway, so the next thing we saw was the convoy started up again, and I said, Usherford. So we took off. I was sitting there and I said, okay, now I'm going to Usherford. Because we had already promised these guys that we were going anywhere with them.
At this point, did you think you were now a convict?
Convict is a strong word, isn't it?
Or probably now mixed up
Yes.
with the rest?
Yes. I had now been compromised, But I was now worried about Major Yache.
Was he also he seemed to be very quiet throughout this whole process.
Yes, he was quiet.
Why?
I mean, he's naturally quiet. I mean, he's... Pardon?
He's supposed to be a major. And
he's
he was
a major.
asking questions.
Who are you going to ask the questions? The boys? The young guys or who?
You had the commander, the force commander.
Yeah, but he didn't see them. He didn't. I was the one who went and saw the brigade commander.
Okay.
So he had no contact with any of them. You see, he had no contact at all. So his being quiet wasn't because he couldn't ask questions. But
is it because he knew too much?
No, I don't think he knew at all. I don't think so. I think that he was in the right place at the right time, somebody who was cooler than me probably at the time. Because if they found me as cool as I had been used from the start, then there wouldn't have been the need for him to have been pulled in.
Why did Rawlings take so much interest in you in the first place?
In me?
Yes.
It would be a nice question for him to answer.
But why? You were probably one of the captains. Why you?
Well, I mean, what I got told later was that I was probably level-headed and always trying to, to achieve. You give a task and I want to just make sure that I accomplish and that kind of thing. And the other thing was, because of my my position in the Young Warfare School as a trainer, we all of us trainers had students or trainees coming to...
So it had nothing to do with your ethnicity in terms of getting Adabuga out of...
No, I don't think at that point that was what it was. Later on, it was made that way because I was able to talk to them. But I was also told that these young guys wanted me involved in a way. I had no clue about that. They wanted me involved in whatever way. But I had no clue. Nobody has said anything to me.
Okay.
So I was doing it like, any officer could have been asked to do that.
Okay.
So I was asked to. And
you were privileged, especially coming from the higher office.
Well, yeah, in a way, but not.
But now heading to James.
Yes.
Usher prison.
Usher Fort itself.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what happened there?
Right. So we got to Usher Fort. Then they said, Major Yache and Captain Awuni, cell 1. Then Akatapore, cell 2. The others, they gave them a cell each. So I shook my head. I said, what? Someone really going in. So I took off I had a weapon. So I took off my weapon, my magazines, and there was this officer, Lieutenant Ristado. I think he just retired from the army as well. Okay. He was hanging around. He was there. So I just said, oh, take the weapon. I just gave my weapon to him.
Were you instructed to do it, or you did
it
willingly?
I couldn't have taken the weapon in. The prison warders would have had to take everything off us.
Like, were you not asking a question? I was just to carry out an instruction.
Yes.
Why am I now going into...
Yeah, I had been asking myself that question, but the person who needed to answer wasn't there.
Major Yache was with you. He's also going in with you and so on.
Yes, because now we had told these young guys that we were going everywhere with them, especially me. I had made them give up their weapons. I had disarmed them with the view that they were going to be respected. And that is all that I was told. Just disarm them and things would work out. So I went there with that mind. And after telling them, why should I turn my back on them? What did they do? If others were turning their back on them, I don't know what happened, but I know what happened between us. They had virtually given their lives to me. Because that night when they were sleeping and I was on guard, I was sort of protecting them. The only way you'd have got to them was knock me out with a fair shot. If you stand somewhere and you fire your first round and you get me, fine. But if you don't, bloodshed. You know? So they respected me that much to have given me their weapons. So it was for me to respect them as well. And keeping my word, I said I would go anywhere with them. And I promised them that usher forward wherever we're going with them. And somehow, Major Yache agreed to do that. In fact, he could have stayed away, but he didn't.
What happened in cell 1?
Okay, so now, as I gave my weapons and we're waiting for the others to usher us in, the group started shouting again. They said, sir, if you come in now, then we're all locked in here. Nobody's going to say anything. No, we will be locked in here. And in fact, they were very agitated because they realized I was keen to go in, but they didn't think it was a good idea for me to go into, because then that would have been it. We were closed up. So I then said, all right. Then the list of things that they had given me whilst we were in Gonda Barracks, you know, when they were under my charge, they were still under my charge anyway, I had them listed.
Technically not.
Technically. Physically over there, yes, but spiritually and everything, you know.
They counted too much on you.
Yeah. So they said, sir, you have to do this and then come back tomorrow. You have to get a towel, you have to tell our wives, you have to do this, you have to do it. They gave me a whole list. I said, fine. So I stood there for a while, and then they started ushering them in. And I told Major Yache that, sir, I'll see you tomorrow. I don't know whether he responded or not. And then he turned, and I turned and walked out. Luckily for me, this guy was still standing there. Ristado was still standing there. So he gave me my weapon and the magazines that I had given him. I didn't add this. While at the time that we were standing outside there, I could see in the background Kwenu. Kwenu was standing in the background. And anytime I looked up, he bent his head.
Why would he do that?
He didn't want me to see. He didn't want any of us to see that he was there.
Why?
Will you call that cowardice or what? Because he should have been at the front. And if he wasn't prepared to come to the front, then he shouldn't have been at the back. But he was standing at the back. And I could see him. There's no way I would have missed him. So he bent his head so that we would not see him. But I had spotted him already. Anyway, so when I got my weapon from Ristado, I said, it was now at about 5:15. It was 5:30. I said, Ristado, can you give me a lift? He said, where to? Anywhere, sir. Then I said, oh, MMS. Well, I had a quarter over there. So he drove me to MMS. So I got there. I had to sit down for a while to think about what to do. Then I said, nah, it's too late to go and be collecting the stuff from all these guys. So what am I to do? I'd rather wait till the next day. So I slept that night on the floor because I didn't know what could happen in the night. Rearranged the furniture in the room there with the bed leaning against the door, you know, so yeah. So early in the morning, I got up, got a vehicle to 5 Battalion headquarters. Then I got Major Yache's command vehicle. And then I went round to give messages and then to pick, toiletries and so on for these guys. After doing that, I drove straight to Ashaford. When I got in there, these guys were shouting. They would not even open the door for me to get in. They said, no, I can't come in. I said, I had things there for these guys. They said, no. They had been ordered to take nothing from anybody. So I said, in that case, no, one of them said, why don't you go and see our boss? So I drove to the prison headquarters to meet Mr. Boyson. He was then in charge of the Ghana prisons. When I got there, he said, oh, Baba. Baba is my middle name. Mm-hmm. He said, Papa, what's going on? I said, I don't know. I said, but by the way, I have things here that I have to go and give to these guys. Mm-hmm. And when I got to Oshaford, they will not let me in. He said, you what? I said, I have got things to go and give to them. There are toiletries and things. He said, Baba, oh, no, don't do that. You're not supposed to go anywhere near any of the prisons. Not within a mile of any prison. I said, I've just come from there. He said, but I beg you, don't go there. I said, what about these things? He came down, picked the bag. He said, how you going to get your permission to go back in there? No problem. I am not going to open the place for you. So then I had to leave there and then go to Castle. And this was my chance to report the previous day's, operations. I got there. After telling Rawlings all of these things, what he told me was he didn't understand why I could not go in. After giving him a brief from when he sent me from the castle with Adabuga to go to, that was the first time I was meeting him.
Yeah.
After telling him all of that, all he told me, he doesn't know why I cannot be allowed in.
Allowed in where?
Into Usherford.
Because
I said I was going back there with toilet items for these guys.
But didn't you first ask him why were they now under arrest?
Just hold on. So I then looked at him and I said, sir, you gave me a task and that has been done. And I'm coming to report to you. Sir, but you are not, dealing with what I've just said. Maybe you didn't hear me. He said, Cheno. He just said, Cheno.
What's that?
It's a Ghana word, like, how do I explain it?
Be patient or something?
No. My friend.
Okay.
Or something, yeah, my friend. And it now started dawning on me that something hadn't gone right. Because why should he say that instead of trying to resolve the problem, not me going back into detention, into Usherford. Yeah. So he said, okay, go and ask force commander. Maybe he knows why. Meaning Kwenu. So I drove to the army headquarters. Didn't find him. Went away. Got back there. Didn't find him again. Went away. I went there 3 times. Did not find him. So the 4th time, after the 3rd time, I got back to Rawlings and I said, sir, I can't get him. So Rawlings said, sit down. So I sat in this settee and I just went like this. Sorry, I'm sitting this way, but this is how I sat down. I was tired, I was tired. And he said, just relax. I said, okay. Then the next minute, within 5 minutes of us being there, like me being there, the door just flung open like that and Kwenu entered. And then he walked straight from the door across to where I was sitting. He said, yeah, you said this. You said you were going to do something about this. I said, sir, what did I say? And by this time, I realized that, yes, the penny has dropped, I'm in, so no problem. The die is cast now. That's what I told myself. Anyway, so he said, you said, you came to my headquarters about 3 times, and you are looking wild. I said, sir, everybody's looking wild. And you are carrying an AK with 2 magazines. I said, sir, 3 magazines. He said, yes, whatever. Then he said, and you were looking for me. I said, yes, sir, because chairman asked me to come and find out from you. Yes, but even when I came, I didn't even greet anybody. You remember, I walked in and I didn't greet anybody. Because when I got out there, I saw a vehicle and I asked who was using that vehicle and they said you. I couldn't hold my patience. And I came, I didn't even greet anybody. I said, okay, sir. Then he had this little notebook, opened it. He had written something in red. He said, look, you said this is against Nordness and accounts, and you're going to do something about it. I said, sir, who said I had done that? When I stretched my neck, he just pulled the sheet away. So I knew now I was in. I could remember the officers. In fact, I can remember 2 of them now. 1 has passed. So I sat down there for a while. I said, I want to know who told you that. I only came to you because chairman asked me to come and find out why I could not go into Usherford. He stormed out. Just walked out of the place. Then after about 30 minutes, I was sitting down. He wasn't coming back anymore. Then chairman said, Cheno, come. And he took me upstairs. He went and gave me a room that I could, relax over there. And this was about 6 o'clock. So 6 o'clock, I couldn't go anywhere. But before that happened, I sort of missed this case. After saying all these things, I lost some respect for this man because of things, for the force commander, for Kweno.
Okay.
Because of certain things that had happened. But you see, I have to say yes sir to the man. I don't have any problem with that. But as a person, no, I had an issue.
Okay.
So when he said to me, if you get up now and you walk out, you'll be arrested. Cream. When he did that, I just did this. As soon as I did this, Rawlings said, sit down, sit down. So I went back, just sat like that. And that was when Kwenu walked out. And then Rawlings said, let's go. So he took me upstairs. This was getting bad. I didn't know how I was going out, because at this time, going into his office, I had been disarmed. My weapon was in the cupboard. But I had a pistol somewhere. You know.
Where?
I won't tell you where. In fact, 2 pistols. One carried 1 round, and the other one, normal 8 rounds. Anyway, so I was moved. Rawlings moved me to a room and asked me to stay there overnight. And I was there till the morning. Now that night, you want to hear that?
Please.
Right. So, I was there, and I'd been hungry. Remember the last time
You ate
I ate
the Gary.
gari
Yeah.
with something like green, whether mango leaves or neem tree leaves, I don't know. But that was all I had. I was very hungry. So I was there when this soldier came with rice, rice and stew. And I knew the soldier. He was in my platoon when I was in the 4th Battalion.
Okay.
Nelson something. And he was looking straight. And Nelson was the sort of person, every time smiling. Especially me, his platoon commander. He should be smiling when he sees me. But Nelson was looking serious. Nelson put the plate of rice on the table and a bottle of Coke, and he put the opener next to it. He went. Then I sat there. I think I didn't even have saliva to swallow even, but sat there, looked at the food, and I thought, yeah, this is going to be a good meal. Then, I don't know, something just occurred to me. Drink the Coke first. So I just stretched my hand and pulled, lifted it. When I lifted, I had,
Oh. So it had already been tampered with.
Yeah. I've never felt so bad. Coke that I thought now I was going to have my Christmas meal in November, and look at that. And I thought, no, I'd rather go hungry another day. So I said, this I'm not going to touch. Then I studied the rice. Now they said they bought the rice from Osu Market. Yeah. So you either get, those days, we didn't have this polythene stuff. So the leaves. Yeah. So you either bought the rice and stew in the leaves, or you took a plate. Now, when I look at the plate, it was like a picture. The white was circular, and the stew was exactly in the center. No, drips on the side, even on the rice. I said, Abba, this one is picture made. I can survive this. Unfortunately, I had an ulcer, even in the army.
Oh.
I had ulcer, and I was surviving. So I thought, it's not going to kill me. It will hurt. I was hurting, but no, I'm not going to touch this. So I looked at it, I said, you see, if they had used the leaves, you would see that it has been poured from the leaves into that. I probably would have eaten it. Yeah? And if I had seen some drips on the rice, I would have said, okay. But here it was like picture quality stuff.
Too perfect to be true.
Too perfect. I said, this one, I just hit my stomach. I said, no food for you. So the Coke was the first to go. Went to the sink, poured it in, and left a little at the bottom, came and put it down. Now the rice, mixed it up, about 3/4, down the toilet. Mistake. When I put it down the toilet and I flushed, the palm oil was all over the pot. So, and I had to clean that. I used 2 toilet rolls, kept cleaning and flushing, cleaning and flushing, cleaning and flushing, until I felt there was no trace. So left it there, sat inside there very quietly. I don't know how day broke. Then in the morning, I was sitting there ready, because one of the things that Rawlings told me was the next day they should talk to me. Yeah? So I was sitting there quietly when I heard some footsteps. Then all of a sudden, it was Nelson. Nelson came and he froze. I said, Nelson, he said, sir. And the look on his face.
As if he's seen a ghost.
Something like that.
Okay.
And I thought, Nelson, what's your problem? He didn't even say no, sir. He just shook his head. Then he came, took the plate. Because if you look at the plate, I had eaten, and the Coke too, I left a letter at the bottom. And the spoon, I had put it in, and so that one, put it all there. Nelson took, his plate away. And I was sitting there, just thinking. I said, Nelson did not salute me, did not greet me, very unusual. So then it started dawning on me, So I was there when I was told that I had to go to Rawlings' office. So got there. And he looked at me in a funny way, but I didn't want to think too deep into that.
How funny? Shocked or amazed?
Amazed, but he there are times when he puts up certain faces. Sometimes it's difficult to really tell, when he's funny about something. Because I thought if he was aware of it, then why would he send somebody? But it is possible that he was aware of everything that was going. I cannot say categorically that he was aware of it. Anyway, I got there. Then they said the officer should take me. And this was one Lieutenant Hatcher. He said he should take me. So sat in this vehicle all the way. And then he was just talking generally about Accra.
Where were they taking you
to? They said confrontation. I was going to be confronted. You remember I said I wanted to know who I said it was against Northerners and accounts?
Yeah.
So that was the confrontation they wanted to organize.
Okay.
So I get to Army headquarters, and I'm driven in. And as soon as Hatcher dropped me, he said, sir, I'll see you later. I said, no problem. I felt I was comfortable. Then I sat down there and I was looking. Then one senior officer came. He said, Baba, you're here. Okay, I'm coming. He went out, came back again. He said, Baba, please, when you go in there, he's going to talk. Don't say anything. Just keep quiet. Let him talk. And then finish this thing.
Who was going to talk?
That Queno was going to talk.
Okay. So this conversation was with Queno?
Yes.
Okay.
And some others.
Okay.
Then I said, so what are you saying? He said, when you go, he's going to be talking, anyhow. So just listen. When he finishes, you just leave it and then we'll stop this. I said, no, sir. So if he accuses me wrongly, I've got to say something back. So I can't just keep quiet like that. He said, please, I'm begging you. I said, no, sir. He said, Baba, only a few of you. You are making Ghana tense. A few of you. Why? And this man, it was like, I said, sir, I'm not making Ghana tense. Me, I don't even know about, what is happening outside. He said, when you go, he will talk. I said, okay, sir. All right. So I just told him. I said, fine. Then I was waiting. I had a feeling that it wasn't going to be as bad as I thought. So I waited, and I was there for about close to an hour, waiting. Then all of a sudden, someone calls me and says, Force Commander wants to see you. Then I'm taken through one room, empty room. The next one had about 10 soldiers, other ranks, sitting around there. And I thought, I'm expecting to see officers to confront me, not other ranks, because none of them was there. Then I entered Queno's office, and there was one Colonel Jimfra, who became Brigadier General. He was sitting in front of him. And Ghana Jimfra used to be in 2 Brigade, Kumasi. When I was in 4th Battalion, he was in 2 Brigade, so I knew him that well. Kwenu says, okay, you are here. I said, yes, sir. Okay, yesterday I said you did this and that and that and that and that. He was going on and on and on. He stood up. He wasn't even sitting. Ajimfra was sitting down, but he was standing. He said, so I've decided not to do any confrontation. Then I said, hallelujah, in my head. I thought this wasn't going to be good. Because I knew I would not deny. And that wasn't going to be very good news.
Okay.
Then he said, so what I'm saying is that no confrontation, so I want you to go back to Achansi, and that is the end of the matter. Do you understand? I said, yes, sir. Do you have anything to say? I said, yes, sir. He said, okay, go on. I said, sir, I think yesterday you were saying a number of things that I came to the headquarters 3 times. Yes, I was told you came here 4 times. I said, no, sir, 3 times. He said, yes, and you were looking wild. You were carrying an AK with 2 magazines. I said, no, sir, 3 magazines. He said, whatever. Just looked at him. I said, sir, but all the officers are carrying weapons. So I saw you with an SMG. You were carrying an SMG at Usherford. I saw you outside there. I could see the look on his face. He said, it doesn't matter. Okay. He said, okay, so that is it. No confrontation. I said, sir, I will say one more thing. He said, what is that? I said, sir, next time there's an issue like this, I would suggest that there's some kind of investigation before you start sending out patrols. Because you said to me yesterday that if I went out into Accra, I would be arrested. Cream. He said, yes, I said that. Me, I'm not MI. I'm infantry, so I act. I said, sir, if the first round didn't get me, there was going to be bloodshed. See, because every time I got in here, I was ready. He said, whatever. So you're telling me you were ready to fight. I said, sir, just like you were ready to fight. It hurt me that I had to talk back to a senior officer. It really hurt me. But at that point, I just felt that say what you have to say. So he looked at me. Then he said, okay, next time you come to Accra, come to my office, report yourself. I said, I'm not coming. He said, I'm saying that if you have to come to Accra, I said, I'm not coming to Accra anymore. And he looked at me. I said, the only time I come to Accra is when chairman gives instructions that I should come. He said, yes, if chairman says come to this office first. I said, I'll tell chairman not to call me. I was being unnecessarily stubborn,
yeah.
But I thought it was time for me to...
Was he trying to build now a relationship with you?
No. I mean, he was trying to bully me.
You thought, I mean, after embarrassing him, didn't you think maybe it was a way of...
There were other things that happened, that's why I'm saying that, he thought... If anything at all, he would have liked to be... he would have preferred I didn't talk the way I was talking. But there weren't people around. But I knew a bit too much, even about him.
What did you know about him?
The way he was flapping. He was flapping like an officer shouldn't do. And for him, he made some soldiers get some fear of people like me. There was a time when some soldiers were traveling to Achansi for training. And he saw them outside Elwak Stadium, asked them where they were going. They said Achansi. He said, you go and meet those people there. They will grill you like you are going for Third World War. Those people, they are by heart, especially that guy with the beard, by heart. So when they got there, you see, so for a force commander to say that about a junior officer, these guys are going to believe that. And then to know that he attempted to disarm these guys, they didn't mind him, and I was able to do it. Yeah. It's not a good thing. I'll say I'm a good commander because I can identify somebody who can do that job. He didn't have to do that. There's a general go down to talk to corporals and a sergeant. But he went that low. He should have started with people like me, So we solved the problem and said, if he had come, it would have been easy meat. But he didn't. So there was that kind of problem, that he had. And I mean, other things that maybe not too nice to say.
Why not?
Because he's not here. I wish he was sitting here, then I can.
Just give us a gist of it.
Okay. Okay, so one time he comes to the Jungle Warfare School. And there we had a format of receiving, people who came from outside. We wanted to see the reality.
Okay.
You see where we live, it is not that comfortable.
Okay.
Our bathroom was outside. So if it was raining, you didn't even need a bucket of water. The rain will wash you down.
Okay.
So no roof. Yeah. And he came on a visit with some officers. And my CEO was a very interesting man, Adabuga. He said, I asked him whether I should do something. He said, yeah, whatever. So I used to do the crazy stuff, And the reason he allowed me to do that, because amongst my mates, I was the only one who wasn't drinking alcohol.
Okay.
So it meant that every time, at least, I was alcohol-free. So this guy, or his entourage, is given what we call survival stuff.
Okay.
So we put in crow, roasted, grilled, whatever, lizards, frogs, snakes, all of those things. We grill them and say, you have to try. Because in the jungle, anything that comes, you should be able to eat it. And he didn't do that. One or two of his officers ate a little. Well, they didn't eat a little, they just took a piece, bit it, and said, this is a joke, Because if we were eating that, because we always had to demonstrate it. All of us, the training officers, we would demonstrate, not that we would just go for lunch and say we're having crow meat or lizard meat.
Or snakes.
Yeah, or snakes. And here he was. He said he was going to see a patrol in the jungle base. As you move, sometimes when you settle, especially for the evening, for the night, you have to organize yourself in a certain way. So they said he was going to see that. Now, my CEO had gone into the jungle, so he was there waiting to receive him. Mm-hmm. And I asked the CEO whether I could do something. He said, yeah. So I went and laid an ambush. And he was going to walk through the ambush. And I got into the ambush position with 3 other senior NCOs. And we were all carrying live rounds. 2 of them were firing machine guns into the ground. They had dug holes and they were firing into the ground. And I was firing in the line that they were moving. So whereas the 3 were firing to our rear, I was firing to their front. It started raining. And in the jungle, if it rains for 5 minutes, it's bad news. The rain beat us like nobody's business. I was soaked. And I asked myself, who asked me to do this? You could have waited. Anyway. So when the rain stopped, we heard the footsteps coming. We knew these guys were coming. As soon as Quinn got into my line of fire, I opened fire with the AK. 60 rounds, 20 rounds of above his head. So I was tearing the leaves. The leaves were falling on him. The man didn't like that one bit. We stopped firing. I shouted, stop firing. Then I crawled out. And when I crawled, it was like here in the wall, not quite 2 meters away. And I stood in front of him and said, sir, do you want to see our jungle, our ambush position? Let's go. He was angry. He said, let's go. Because it was frightening, It wasn't a joke.
You think he was not fit for the position? Is that why you did that?
No, I wanted them to feel it. I wanted them to have the experience.
But he is in a higher position, and
yes.
You think he didn't go through that process?
The higher position, I don't care about that. He is commanding me. He must know what I do. And he must know how his soldiers are trained.
Okay.
Yeah, and we were providing the training. So he must know how it feels, to be in that position. And then the rain to beat us in that position. We were human beings. We were not wearing raincoats. I was wearing a bumper jacket. It was soaked to my backside. I couldn't do anything about that. But the effect was for him to feel how it was. We're not going to kill him, But the story I heard later on was that, hey, we almost killed a man. I mean, how true or untrue would that have been? But that was it, you know.
At this point, you've left most of your peers, people you bargained positively for, and now they are at Asher Prison. What next?
What next? My next thing was to talk to Chairman Rawlings, isn't it? Because I still hadn't...
Yeah, after the confrontation, so...
Yes.
Okay,
so I was still at the confrontation. I didn't finish that part.
That.
Yes, I didn't finish that part. So now the guy tells me, go and don't come back. If you come to Accra, come to my office first. I said I wasn't coming. In the end, I just gave up. Then he said, oh, anything else? I said, yes, sir. Sir, my car, I don't know where my car is. He said, you don't know where? I said, I don't know where my car is. He hit on a table bell, to call his orderly. Yeah. The orderly came. He said, you see one of those 2 new vehicles? The guy said, yes. Fill it. Give it to this officer. Let him take it. Let him take it away. He said, anything else? Nothing else? Okay, you can fall out. I said, thank you, sir. And I just turned around. I didn't carry out the drill like I should, because by now, respect was almost gone, Anyway, so I went out, waited for about 10 minutes. The vehicle was brought, brand new. We call it tear rubber, brand new. And he had said I could go anywhere I wanted. So I started thinking of the farthest point in Ghana, but I knew I wasn't going far. So I sat in the vehicle, I asked the driver, do you know where you're taking me? He said, oh, Commander said, anywhere you want to go. I said, okay. Take me behind Flagstaff House. There was the transport unit over there. Okay. And that's where my car was parked. So I said, take me there. So he took me. I got there. My car was parked over there. Luckily for me, it had been sent there for some servicing when I left it. I opened, started it. It started all right. I still have fuel in it. So I told the guy, you can go. He said, no, sir. So Commander said I should be with you. I said, it's okay. I've finished with you. You can go now. So I sat in the vehicle, went to my quarter in Army Mess, and then drove back to Achansi. And now I have to go and start strategizing how and what to do, with these, with my unfinished business.
So what happened after?
After that, I eventually got back into normal operations. Anytime I asked what was happening, nobody was ready to mind me. I asked my CEO. My CEO got changed. Somebody else came in.
Okay.
I would ask Kwashiga, ask Paddington. They all said they didn't know, And I met Rawlings a couple of times. He said he didn't know. In other words, it was an issue with the force commander. He was dealing with that.
How did you feel at this point? That you betrayed a lot of people?
Yes. It was bad for me. It was really, really bad for me.
But this is before or after 19th June?
Before.
Before 19th June?
Yeah.
So how were you arrested on 19th of June?
Okay, so on 19th June, I was in Army Mess. It was a Sunday. Okay. I was in Army Mess. The previous day, I had been to see my mom in Tema. And I told her the Sunday I was going to see her because Monday I wanted to return to Achansi. So Sunday at about 11 o'clock, I thought, let me go to the mess. And as I was walking towards the mess, I heard a mortar bomb drop somewhere. In fact, the first one, I heard it drop. I thought, nah, it's not. Then the second one dropped. And I saw another officer coming towards me. And he said, sir, they are firing mortar bombs. So something is happening. My heart just went because I was hoping that wasn't, what I was hearing wasn't mortar bombs. And I thought, I'm in trouble now.
Okay.
Because now I have betrayed these guys.
Right.
So anybody who would see me as a Judas, see me as not worth, having confidence in. I felt really bad and I said, look, I shouldn't be here. Because the other thing that was happening was, every time there was an issue, like an attempted coup, I was told I was linked to it, you know. And I said, hey, you know, how would I be linked to this? But the circumstances, like this particular one, there I was in Accra, and this was happening. At that time, I didn't know this. So I went to Tema. When I got to Tema, my sisters were saying, oh my goodness, you are here. Hey, have you heard what is happening in Accra? I said, no. I had heard, but I just said no. He said, hey, there's firing going on in Accra. It looks like there's a coup d'etat. I said, hey, then this one, I'm sorry, but I have to go to a chance. He said, no, you can't go. I said, no way, I have to go. Because there's no way I will stay in Accra or Tema when this has happened. So I thought to myself, going back through Accra would not be good advice. So what I was going to do was go through Afienya and then cut across like that, a hit in Sawam, and then to Asamankesi, and I'm on the other side. Yeah, that was my plan. So I left Tema. I left Community 2 where my sisters were and drove. And then I got outside the 1st Battalion, Michel Camp. Just got outside there, and there was a roadblock. So there were these soldiers, and I pretended I didn't know what was going on. So one of them came in and said, excuse me, where are you going? I said, I'm going back to my unit. Then one other guy saw me and said, hey, sir, have you heard? I said, heard what? He said, there was an attempted coup. I said, where? He said, in Accra. So, but where are you going? I said, I'm going to Achansi. I'm going through Afienya. He said, hey, sir, this one, it's better you go to the headquarters, go and get a pass, then you can continue. Because if you go like this, they will think you are part of those guys who attempted. And here they were. I mean, quite a number of soldiers. I wasn't going to be able to say I'll break through or anything. So I said, oh, no problem. So I turned. And one of them decided that he would come with me, that he was going back to the headquarters, he would come with me. I said, sit down. So we got to the headquarters. When we got there, I saw a number of officers, and they were, apart from the commanding officer at the time, all the others were my mates. So I was very comfortable. Then I said, what's going on over here? They said, hey, haven't I heard? I said, no, I'm coming from Tema. He said, there was an attempted coup. There was an attempted coup. I said, attempted what? He said, attempted coup. He said, okay, what they have to do is to get a pass from Accra to let Accra know, meaning the headquarters, know that I was there.
Okay.
I said, I want to get to Achansi before it's dark. They said, well, no problem. They know it will come very shortly. And this was about 4:30.
Okay.
I sat down there by 6 o'clock. Nothing had come. And a number of the officers were actually in the headquarters. When I got there, a number of them were there. The junior, they were all captains anyway. And they were not interacting with me at all. But it didn't bother me. Then it got dark. I found myself in the headquarters by myself. Next morning, I thought, okay, maybe this pass or whatever it is will come and then I'll go. Waited 12 o'clock. The adjutant came in and he said, I was supposed to be moved to the guard room. I said, what? He said, yes. Instructions had come that I should be taken to the guard room. I said, for what? He said, well, he doesn't know. He's just taking orders. I said, as an officer, you put me under close arrest in the officers' mess. And now they're taking me to the guard room. Okay? And they're taking my car keys from me. And I said I needed some items from there. So one of them escorted me to the car. That's when I knew that this wasn't nice. Anyway, so from there, I was taken to the guard room. And I stayed there from 20th June till, I think, 3rd July. I was in the guard room. Nothing coming. No message. Only one officer came from the Young Warfare School, and he had come to collect a check because my CEO had actually given me a check to go and collect some beer as our allocation for the unit. I don't drink beer, but I was going to collect beer for the unit. And he gave me a check, a unit check. And this officer came to collect that check. That was the only interaction. My mates who were in 1BN, none of them came to say hello or hi or anything. None.
Why?
I don't know. So it told me a lot. It told me a lot. I was very disappointed. Then on the 3rd of July, I was there when I was told I was being moved to Accra. So, okay, maybe the release time has come. I was put in this vehicle. My car was in front. I could see the rear end of my car, and I was being driven to Accra. I got to the brigade headquarters. When I got there, I stayed around for a while in the adjutant's office. Then the next thing I heard was I was being taken to Director of Prisons. Again. And I thought, what have I done? Anyway, so my best mate was asked to take me to the Director of Prisons. And that was a bit of consolation, because I thought if he was with me, it was much better than anybody else. But maybe it was also something that was being done to maybe trap him, just in case I escaped, he was also in trouble. But there was no way I was going to escape. I mean, for what? I had done nothing. Yeah. So I was bundled into this vehicle. And one of the bad things that happened to me, there was a soldier who was also being sent to the prisons. And he was asked to accompany us. And guess what? They had to handcuff us.
Why?
Yeah, because now we're prisoners. So my right hand was handcuffed to his left hand. So now he was my buddy. He had to.
So now you finally met the prison officer.
So we are driven from Teshin to the prison headquarters.
Okay.
When we got there, Boyson, he said, oh, Baba again. Okay. I'll send you to Nsawam prison. That's the best place. It's the neatest place I can send you to, honestly. I thought, what? He said, yes, I'll send you to Nsawam prison. It's the best place. Anywhere else is not too nice. And before then, this sergeant says, he wants to wee-wee. So I had to go with him. And then he asked for where the loo was. They just said, you should go behind the wall there. So when we got there, I gave him my right hand. He was zipped. And then, he finished and we came back into the vehicle. And we were driven to Nsawam prison. We got Nsawam prison. You want to hear that bit?
We will do that right after the break. Welcome once again. Just before the break, Captain was going to illustrate and tell us more about Nsawam prison and his experience there.
Right.
What happened at Nsawam prison?
So we were driven into Nsawam prison when earlier on in the day I thought I was going to be released and I could go back to my unit. So we get in Nsawam prison, enter the reception, the whole place was packed. And I didn't understand why. And one of the first people that I saw was Dr. Graft-Johnson,
the President.
Vice President. For his height, And I thought, this man is here. Then Okuchu Bekwin, then Kwesiama, big guys. And I thought, are these guys still here? Anyway, so I stood there and they went through the formalities of what they had to do. Then they said, Mr. Bona, take him. I said, take him. They said, okay, I should go with him. And I always had a towel, a green towel. And then I was wearing easy slippers. I started following Bona. And I could see the cells on one side. But then we're going towards a secluded area. Then Mr. Bona turned around and said, you're supposed to be going to the condemned cell.
Condemned cell?
So by now I said, oh, I'm a dead goat, so it doesn't really matter. So we walked up to the front, opened the gate, went in, bam, shut the gate behind us. Opened the next one, bam, shut down. You know, like that. We went through 4 gates and then started going upstairs. And then we walked past the gallows. You know, you can see it's labeled, and they had opened the door. So you can see the trap door and everything. Then inside, and we turned. Said, this is a condemned cell. To get out, I don't know, Rambo would have difficulty getting out of there. You know, and I thought, what have I done? Anyway, so I'm dumped in cell 6. So this guy puts me in there, and it's an empty cell, nothing, just the walls and the floor. Then I said, when I entered, the warden just shut the door, and it's got some sound, you know, like you hear bum, some music behind it. Then this little latch at the top there, they open to see what you're doing and that kind of thing. I said, excuse me, can I have a mattress? Then somebody next door said, hey, my friend, don't worry about mattress or you won't get mattress. So I said, can I have a blanket? The man didn't mind me. So I was there for a while. And I thought, can I use the loo? He said, okay. And he came, opened, and then he showed me where the loo was. Smelly, but I did my wee-wee all right. Then came back. When I was entering, I said, look, I haven't eaten from morning. I'm hungry. They said, oh, they've just finished their meals, so it's a bit late now. But the pot is there, so he will see if he can get something out of it. I was there when he brought me a bowl, and it looked milky, you know, and it said rice water. So I thought, no spoon? I thought, okay, no spoon. I can't say no spoon, so I'm not going to eat. So I decided to sip, you know. And when I did, it did not taste nice at all. It tasted like sponge, you know, the local sponge.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I put my fingers in there to try and scoop. I didn't get much rice in it. And I tried to sip a little. My stomach was burning. You know, I had ulcer.
Yeah.
So I just thought, no. So I gave it back to him. And I said, can you get me a mattress? He said he would try. Then a guy next door said, oh, don't mind him, because that is it. Nobody is coming now. He's also locked inside. So that night, I was there. And I could hear the Nsawan Road vehicles going up and down, you know. I don't know whether I slept or not. But one lone mosquito entered, and it really taught me a lesson. I slapped myself to stay awake, you know. At a certain point, I felt like wee-weeing. How am I going to do this? Because I don't have any pot over there. So how am I going to do this? Can I say this? What I'm saying? Of course. It's my experience.
Of course.
So I got to the end of the cell, and you know, it's all cemented, proper concrete and cement, yeah, but not plastered.
All right.
So very rough. So what I did, controlled myself and weed one way, like that, and then held myself, then put my finger just below where I had weed, and I couldn't feel any liquid dripping down. Then I weed the opposite way. Then the third, I couldn't hold it. So I just went zzz. But each time I raised myself, you know, so that it will go higher.
Okay.
And I managed to finish, and I sat down and I thought, now what am I going to do? Where will this urine go? Which way is it going? It was all dark. When I talk about dark, pitch dark. So I sat down for a while, and I thought, nah. Put my finger down there, along the edge of the wall, and it was all dry. I said, thank God, maybe I can do another round after a while. But there was nothing else left to me, so I didn't have to worry. So I went and lay down. Now I didn't know what to do. I had 2 slippers and a towel. So I used the towel as my spread, and then I used one of the slippers as my headrest.
Okay.
Then I put one foot on the other one and crossed my leg like that. So I lay down with half a slipper there. Then every now and then I would change so that my feet were not firmly on the ground because it was very cold.
Wow.
And I had to keep doing that till daybreak. Meanwhile, the mosquito too was in there dealing with me, And I had to stay like that till the morning. And we stayed like that. I think we were there for 2 days. And then we got the third day. We were told, me and one or two others were being taken out of there. We were considered political prisoners, and like me, I had done nothing. So, what do you call this? There's a term for it. We hadn't done anything. So we were just being detained on suspicion. So we didn't have to be in the condemned cell. So we were told that we were being taken to the open cell. Now, we started going out. I went past the gallows. I said, at least, I'm not going into the gallows now. I've gone past that. I've passed that point, So we went out. When we got outside, who do you think was standing there? Chris Asher. The Nana that...
Yes.
Yeah, he was standing outside there. I thought, he said, Captain, let's go. We're going to my cell. We're going to my cell. I couldn't talk. So I just followed this man like that. And he took me to, they called that one annex, which was like the Porsches of the prisons. And that's where the politicians and, whoever, the big shots were. That's where they were. Then he took me there and took me into his cell, 23. And there were 6 of us in there. And it was like the biggest of the cells, so 6 of us, it was quite comfortable. And my first day, or first night, I didn't know what to do with myself. So I was lying there, when all of a sudden I could hear some bad smell. When I looked, somebody was using the pot. I didn't realize that my head was in the wrong direction, So I had to turn around, first experience, So until the next morning. Then Chris Asher started, briefing me. He made me very comfortable,
So at least it paid off with your previous encounter with him that you never treated him that bad.
I didn't treat him badly. Yeah. There was no reason to treat him badly, and I didn't.
Right.
Then he was organizing the meals and so on. So the meals that we were having there was very different from the others. The open guys, not the politicians. I went into one of the politicians in prison, and he said, "Oh, Captain, do you want to read a magazine?" And he gave me Newsweek. When I looked at it, it was very current. Like the date was like next week in the UK.
Oh.
It was that current. And I said, "Hey, Nana, how did you get this one?" He said, "Oh, Captain, don't worry." Then he pulled another box. He said, What do you want? Mars bar or whatnot? He had chocolates and biscuits and what? I said, "What?" So I became, very friendly with them. Then I met later the Graft-Johnson. Then he looked and I said, "Oh, but you two, he has some nice mannerism, like he's complaining but he's laughing, He said, "Oh, but you two were all hoping that you're going to save us from this place." Then the next thing we heard was that they are bringing you here. We were hearing that you were fighting and you were doing this, you were doing that. I said, "Where did you hear all that from?" He said, "That's what they heard." So when they heard that I had been brought to the reception, they were all running to come and see, to come and confirm. That's why they were there like that.
Right, okay.
Because they were hoping that if I was doing something, I would have succeeded, so the government would have been overthrown, and then they can be released from prison.
Oh, okay.
But here, the one who was supposed to be the crusader, now I was being brought in there. So he told me all this, sitting down there, and said, "Baba, you really disappointed us." Then there was Kankam da Costa. Quite a number of Okuju Ibekwin. They were all there. And they would sit down with me and we would talk and,
What was his reaction like in terms of, I'm talking about the vice president. How was he? Was he surprised to be there? Was he worried?
He was surprised. If I worried in the sense that, well, that wasn't where he should have been. You know, I mean, and I felt very bad. I'll tell you one of those days, I said I was going to have my bath. Yeah. Then what these guys used to do, you get the prisoners on the other side, the other half, you know, they were like squashed in about 10 to 1 little cell. So they were doing some kind of service for us. You want to have your bath, they will fetch water and take it to the... I wanted to carry my own bucket. No, they won't agree. They will take the bucket. And if you wanted to go to the toilet, we had 3 of those loos for over 100 people. So you can imagine it. It was always full. So if you were going, you had to get one of them to go and clean it. And then you go quickly before everybody else goes. Now, they took my bucket and they came and told me that, oh, my water was there, if I could go and have my bath. As I was walking in, here with the Graft-Johnson and Okuchi Bekwin also going in. I turned around to get her. I said, hey, Captain, don't go. Come. We're all the same. I said, no, sir. We cannot be the same. How? I said, no, sir. They called me. I said, no, sir. This one.
At any point did he express anything he believed they did wrong, which led to the overthrow of their government? Did he express anything of that nature that probably I could have done this better, or we could have done this better? Maybe we didn't listen. Maybe we were too comfortable in our position.
Yes, I think he didn't tell me that, but you know there were others who were talking to them and they were relaying that message. You know, like we sit down and they say, "You see these people now? They are with us." In fact, initially I thought they were going to see me as a former enemy. You know, because obviously I was in the service. So anyone who was in the service and was brought there was seen as being on Jerry's side. But I wasn't. I was on the, Ghana side, you know. But he never expressed that himself. The only thing I always saw him as relaxed or resigned, you know, because you couldn't tell that he was unhappy. Every time he was talking about something, and he had that face which didn't show worry. You know, it didn't show worry. I mean, maybe some of us were worried for them, but he didn't show worry. You see Okuchi Bekwin and he is looking somewhere. And then Kwesi too. And they were all...
How did you feel meeting these high people within the cell with you there? I mean, how was it like?
It wasn't comfortable. I mean, when I heard of Kwesi, he was Ghana's High Commissioner to the UK. I was in school, and this man was like a big man, and now I was in prison with them.
You were even there with the Vice President.
I was, yes. So it was quite difficult, you know, but I tried to make sure that I wasn't, normal circumstances, I would not misbehave anyway. So everything with respect, you know, and anytime they came to where we were sitting, we had a little corner because we were at the end of the cell. So we had a place we sat. Anytime I saw them coming, I'll get up, you know, let them sit. And sometimes they'll say, no, you sit. We want to stand a little bit. I said, no. And so long as they stand, I'll stand, you know, because it was a bit overwhelming. Okuchi Bekwin, I heard his name on the radio, in papers. I didn't think I could even touch him. And now here was the man sitting there. You know, Capt Joe Awuni tried to relate with us because he was much younger, you know. So it was a bit difficult, and they were very angry, but I think amongst themselves they talked, you know, but they never said anything to us, the military, you know. Yeah.
How did you break jail?
How did I?
How did the jailbreak occur?
Oh, the jailbreak happened before I got there. It happened June 19.
Okay, so that was then.
Yes.
Okay.
You were talking about when I was...
Okay, so how okay, after now you are now in Nsamam, how did you get out?
I'm becoming a part of the place. Yeah, okay, so on 31st August, I had several people asking me to write letters to them, just say where I was and that kind. And I said, but for what? Then I was asked to write to Rawlings. I said, what am I going to tell him? I said, I'm here. Then I was asked to write to Kwenu. And I thought that was a waste of time because he wasn't going to mind me, you know. But I did write something that I didn't understand why I was there. I needed to be tried or released. I remember writing something like that.
Yeah.
Tried or released. And I felt, well, whether the letter will go or not is another issue. But a few people did not believe that I was in detention. You know, so these guys would send messages through the prison warders asking me to write letters to them, you know, and I'll write, you know, that I'm here. In fact, they came back and said no. They didn't believe it because there was no stamp on the sheet of paper to say that it was from Zaman prison. So I was given a sheet of paper with that, and I wrote that, yes, I'm here. Couldn't believe that me, of all people, I was in there. You know, with all the works that we were doing, positive contribution to the community, you know, things that we did for the community, making people, you know, villages dig pit latrines as a counter against cholera, food evacuation to Accra. We're doing very positive things. So it was like, no, this won't happen. But then, after writing all of that, I didn't know what was going to happen. Then on 31st August, I had a call from the reception that I should come with my staff, you know, that was being released. So I had to pick my staff, whatever I had over there. I don't remember even what I had, you know, but I picked them, got to the reception. Then they said, yeah, I was being released. So now they had to take me back to where I started from. So they took me to the prison headquarters. And then the prison headquarters, they said, okay, I came from 1 Brigade headquarters. So they drove me to 1 Brigade headquarters. I got there, and I was just looking around. Then one officer came. My sister was actually there to get a cheat so that she could, the next day, which was supposed to be Monday, she would go to someone with some food items for me. So she saw me, and she said, oh, do I know I've been retired? I said, who told you that? That she's heard it somewhere. My heart sank. So I walked out. Then I met another officer. Then I asked him, is it true that I've been retired? He said, yeah, but who told me? I said, I've been told. If it's not true, just say so. If it is true, no problem. He said, it's true. Then he brought me a sheet, you know, the document saying that I had been retired. When I heard it, my heart just went down like that. And they said, services no longer required. And it took effect from 1st September, which was the next day. And by this time that I was reading this, it was almost, it was about 2 o'clock. Okay. And the army units would close at 1:30. So not enough time for me to even run back, wear uniform, take a photograph, latest photograph before I retire, you know. And that was it. I mean, so I drove to my sister's place in Tema on the 31st August. And the 1st September, my retirement took effect.
Okay. Before that, I have a few areas that I want to touch. The 3 judges that were killed.
Yeah.
It's quite an important area. What happened?
Well,
who discovered the bodies? What happened? Where were you coming from?
Okay, so at the time this happened, I was on a course, company commander's course, and that is a course designed for captains, you know, company commanders, you know, captains, and majors if they didn't do the course while they were captains. And on this particular day, we were going to Bondase, the firing range. It's on the way to Dawenya. And as we were going, the topic came up that, but where are these judges? Who is holding them? Who is keeping them? Okay. So we kept on talking. I mean, just imagine captains, all of us mates, sitting at the back of this truck. We were behaving like kids, you know, and talking and shouting and whatever. Then we got to where we had to turn off the main road. And when we turned, we saw in the ditch a yellow Datsun car, a 160J. I remember it so well, yellow. It was lying in the ditch line. And we thought, hey, somebody said, that's the car they use though. They've abandoned the car over here.
They use in what? Operational?
In picking the judges.
Okay.
Yeah. By this time, we didn't know any much. I think
Right.
it had happened 2 days earlier or so.
Right.
So we kept driving in because we had to go to a certain assembly area. We got to the assembly area, and the driver was driving past the assembly area. Then we hit the top of the cab to say, no, this is the assembly area. He has to wait over here because our course commander was way behind. Now, if we went straight on, he could get to the assembly area and turn right. It wasn't the likelihood of him certainly going straight on. So we should wait at the assembly area for him. So the driver should just wait over there. This driver, I don't know what happened to him. He just decided to reverse, and then he turned right into the assembly area. And it's like an open area with trees around. Yeah. As he turned in there, we saw under 2 big trees. I said they were statues. Someone said, oh, they are bodies. I said, oh, statues. And the driver was still moving. So we hit the top of the cab. Then eventually he stopped. So we all jumped down. And then we said, hey, this one, I said statues. Some people said bodies, let's go. So we started striding towards the bodies. When we got there, they were really bodies, and we stood there feeling very cold. They had been bent, the bodies were charred, and we could count 4 bodies lying over there. One of them had a striped blue shirt and red in it. You could see a gentleman buttoned up with a pen in the pocket, lying there, face gone, one leg chopped off. Chopped off neat. We could see the woman too. The woman was the smallest of them, and her native sandals were just lying at her feet. And it was like she had fallen back like that. And it's a bit graphic, isn't it? Her breast area sunken in. I mean, the bodies were badly bent, but we could count 4. So we started thinking, hey, who is the 4th person? But by this time, our course commander hadn't come. So we're still waiting for him to come. Then 3 cowboys surfaced. They came from somewhere because they said when they saw the vehicle, they thought we were coming for the bodies. They said, okay, now tell your story. And then they said 2 nights before, they were sleeping when they heard vehicles, 3 vehicles or so driving to the place. Then they heard shouting. And people were shouting. It was a bit unusual. They couldn't see anything. But because they're shouting, they were afraid. So they kept quiet. Then they said, the next thing they heard was, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, which meant that firing, Then they said, then they heard, whoom, like fire. Then they said, when they heard the whoom, and then they heard vehicles start up, they looked out of the window, and you could see burning, and the vehicles were heading away. So they decided to come out, but they were still afraid. So they waited a little while. Then they thought, no, now they're coming out with their torches. And as they were getting out, it started raining. Serious rain. So they went back and waited till morning. And that morning, they decided to go to the police station, the nearest police station, and report. The police said, if soldiers were killing themselves, what had that got to do with them? So as for them, they should kill themselves. Mm-hmm. This is what the policemen told them. So they didn't know what to do, so they walked away. So the second day, they thought we had been told, and that's why we had actually gone there. So they were far away, but they saw our vehicle, so they decided to come and see us. We stood there, very, very cold, Then there was very little we could do. Our instructor came, Major Tete. Yeah, I think that's his name. He came, and then he saw the scene. And he said, no, this exercise cannot We can't, have the exercise. Yeah, we can't just have the exercise. We stood there and were so confused. Then he took off. He said we should just go back. And the story started. The fourth person, maybe a watchman who saw them, maybe a driver, maybe a passerby, all kinds of stories. So we got back to Teshin, and that was the end of that day. I decided that I was going to Gonda to go and find out what was going on. So drove there. I was going to Rawlings' office. And when I was actually stepping off the road to turn into his place, he came out and was striding, not looking at anybody at all. So I couldn't say anything. And he went off to another office. And I just went back, sat in the car for a while, and I drove back. It was later on that we got to know that the fourth person was Major Aqua, So that was about what I could have, I could say about it. That's what
you
we
met
saw.
Jandu and Teko and all senior.
Tekpo.
Yeah. At the prison.
Yes.
Did they express any concerns and reasons why they were there? Because apparently they were not even involved in the killing.
Jandu told me that he said, "Sir, I wasn't involved." That he returned from Germany on a holiday or something, and this guy America asked him to come for some small operation. So he thought they were friends, so why not? And then later on he got told that they just wanted to frighten the the judges. He just wanted to frighten them. He himself didn't even know. He didn't know who they were. I mean, he knew they were judges because he had been told, but he didn't know. He didn't have any interaction with them. But obviously, the leader of the group was America, according to Jandu. And I believe Jandu because the guy, if you saw him, a gentle guy. I mean, and it was very difficult to believe that he could be involved in something like that. And he told me he didn't press trigger, he didn't do anything, And yet they were told they were going to release. All he saw was that this was happening, but he didn't know what to do. He didn't know what to do. And now look at where he is. But he's talked everything that he can talk. So the way he was talking, I realized he was getting frustrated. So I didn't want to say anything to him because I also knew Chris Asher had been talking with them, interviewing them. So, and being the lawyer that he is, he'll be very detailed in interrogation, you see. So going to start asking this guy for more details and so on was going to just whip up things. Apart from that, I wasn't happy with the whole thing. I mean, why should they lose their lives? And in
How did you feel when you heard it?
I felt very bad. I mean, initially I thought, maybe they had just been picked up by some other group, to go and frighten them because this was happening. There was a time when I had to go to Koforidua to go and release a chief. A chief was put in there. And my CEO told me that he had heard this. And I said, how do you put a chief in detention? So I went to Koforidua for my chance. Went and released this guy. And even the PDC guys were talking, hey, this, that. I said, don't, I asked him to shut up. And I released the chief. I don't know where he was from. But I said, in my hometown, you don't disrespect the chief. And I remember that morning, the chief's family came there with a big cloth, a blanket, pillow, and so on. And I was standing there. I said, you should just give him the cloth.
What do you think is the best course of action, especially for the family of the scapegoats that died in the process of these judges? What do you think should have happened? Did you think clearly justice was not served? How do you feel, having met them, their innocency and everything?
You see, if they had been tried, in using the right procedures and so on, and there was the right investigation, they would have been found as being innocent.
Do you think Rawlings at any point was hostage in his own governance?
I think so. I do. Because he could easily control a lot of these soldiers. He could easily do that. But, like in my case, where he gave me direct instructions, somebody now crosses and changes the whole thing.
Right.
And he's not able to counter it.
Would this affirm the fact that he, on various platforms, has said most of his military or soldiers were doing things without his instructions or authority, and that probably they were being instructed by others?
Others like who? That's the question that he must be asked. Because if you are the top, if you are the commander, the buck stops with you. And at the time, he could easily have controlled a whole lot of things. But there were situations where it was easier for him to look the other way. That's what I saw, later when I was out in an
Why did you think he wanted to poison you at the castle?
I would not say he wanted to. It could be anybody. Yeah.
Why did you think someone wanted you poisoned?
Yeah, get rid of me.
Why?
Maybe they were not comfortable with me. I would say maybe. I don't want to raise my own ego and say that I was that whatever. But from talks, comments that I've heard, I was seen as being capable of doing something against them. One of those situations, if the hierarchy couldn't disarm 5 or 6 soldiers, and I was able to do it, that in itself was something. I mean, later on, like I was told that I could easily change my mind and now go with them. If I was convinced enough, I could turn around and be with them. I mean, so in order to eliminate that possibility, you have to get rid of me.
Okay. You finally got into exile.
Yes.
You met this chief again. You met Chris Asher again?
Yes. Yes.
It seems that you two are brothers with different mothers, I believe.
Yeah.
How was it like?
I left before he did. And he's a master strategist, He had planned his whole move and that kind of thing. But when we met, we had to talk about, whatever we had been through and some of the things involving him. He actually brought them up, and it was like we were very good friends. I mean, if I should put it that way. I used to visit him in his home. He lived in Erith, and I'll go there with the family. We did quite a few things together. So it was like, hey, we escaped things. But I thought his was more dangerous than me. If I sort of look back at how he managed to get out, it was much more dangerous than mine. My situation was very, very different.
I think he was more in a serious position because of his brother, who was then the editor of Palava.
Yes.
So Rawlings didn't like the idea, did he?
Well, he didn't, but Nana himself is, I'm talking about Nana Chris Asher. They are both Chris Asher.
Yes.
He is that sort of open person. He's a very nice guy. I mean, if you know him, and you can't fool around with him.
During your time in exile with him, how did you get yourself involved with Charles Taylor?
It is a long issue that we found ourselves in, because, as it were, I was in exile. I wanted to go back home. I didn't leave Ghana because I wanted to leave Ghana. If I had felt like living abroad, then I would have done that in 1973. But I chose to stay in Ghana. and I was forcibly taken out. Now, the way I left Ghana was even another, funny thing. But while we were in exile, I got a contact from Burkina Faso, asking us to, go and have a meeting in Burkina Faso. And the whole idea was for us to find ways of going back to Ghana. And there was no way we were going to just fly in, and so we needed to do something about the situation, and that was change the government.
Okay.
Right. So the former president of Burkina Faso invited us, that's my colleagues and some of my colleagues and I, and we had some meetings. And then we were asked to also meet with Charles Taylor because he needed help. And the help was to get some equipment, so fighting equipment, like weapons and so on. So I was flown to...
Liberia?
No, I went to Abidjan first.
Okay.
And then went by air to a place called Danane, because Charles Taylor was in his mansion. He wasn't in one place. He was always moving around. So the idea was to go and meet him and find out what he needed, and then find out how he was going to help us to get back home.
Okay.
And so going into Liberia at the time, we had Ghanaian soldiers also on the other side fighting against him. Yeah. So here I was, a Ghanaian, going to talk to Charles Taylor, who was fighting against Ghanaians and Nigerians. But I wasn't looking at that side. I was thinking of
Getting back?
Yeah, getting back. And it wasn't just me. There were quite a number of us who were abroad and wanted to get back home. And my whole aim was to just do that. So eventually, after a few days, we managed to track him down, and we met him between 3 and 4 a.m.
Okay.
In one in a farm somewhere.
Okay.
And we chatted, and what he wanted was for us to assist him get some equipment from the UK. So we had to talk to somebody. So it was like facilitate, what he was getting. There wasn't any money coming to us.
Okay.
But ours was to
just link him to a person.
Link him to a person, and let the person know that.
Was it not dangerous at the time for yourself?
Oh, it was. It was. I mean,
because you've sought amnesty.
Yeah.
In the country.
Yes.
And now you're going to now deal with Charles Taylor.
Yes.
For arms exchange and things like that, and you were not thinking, perhaps this could not work. This could probably work backfire. Where will I now be?
Yeah,
you can't go home and you can't come to the UK.
Well, that crossed our minds, but at the time, we wanted to go back home. And if the support that we needed to get was to help him first with the idea we're not going to physically carry weapons, but to say that, okay, in the UK you can get a weapon from here, you can get it from there and there, which is an open thing, you do that. I mean, if I was to go and get a weapon and take it to him, then I was certainly doing something wrong. But that wasn't what we were supposed to do. And I didn't get, into that. So we met him briefly because he knew what he wanted. And so we, during our meeting, he asked for help in training his soldiers and so on.
Okay.
And apart from him, everybody else over there took me as because I was from the UK, I was from BBC, because they said they knew newsmen around and so on. And there was a guy in our team, Dennis, who was with the New Yorker at the time. Okay. So Dennis, an American, New Yorker, And then me, Joe Awuni, UK, BBC. I didn't argue about that at all, you know, because it was a good cover for
yourself.
For me.
Yeah.
So we got back. I got back after a very serious issue, because that night that we stayed one more night. Yeah, we stayed one more night. That night at about 11 o'clock, our place was bombed, you know, and what do you call it? A jet fighter flew over, a Nigerian fighter plane flew over the area and bombed, because where we were staying was like a farmhouse in the middle of the plantation with lights. Nowhere else were there lights. So we were in there, 4 of us. Then we thought we had an aircraft, you know, overhead. So we ran out to see what was going on. And in the sky, it wasn't very bright, but you could see the dark patch, you know, moving. And it was going away towards Guinea, you know. Then all of a sudden, we thought the noise was not reducing. And all of a sudden, it started increasing. Then it flew over. And we're still watching it, because 4 of us, and everyone said, no, that's it, that's it, that's it. The next thing that we saw, now the aircraft, then the sound was getting louder, and it was coming towards us. That's where we scattered. And we dived into all kinds of areas. And the next minute, 3 rockets were fired into the building, but they hit the base. You know, this building happened to be on the side of a hill. So it had been, the hillside had been cut, so you can see it. But so the rockets actually went to the side. If they had gone a bit higher, that building would have been gone. And the caretaker had a daughter. And this girl was never the same. The way she ran out and dived into the bushes, I felt very sorry. And we said, hey, this guy was going to take all of us. But we were just, the good Lord was taking care of us.
In coming back to Ghana, did you get any assistance from Charles Taylor?
No. You mean when...
yeah, you had an agreement with him. You wanted to come to Ghana.
Yes.
He wanted ammunition.
Yes. Yeah, he would have helped in whatever way we requested.
But he was also a close friend to Rawlings, wasn't he?
No.
No?
No. No, he wasn't. Initially he was, but later on they fell out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Having gone through all this, because of time, and I know my producers are warning me, having gone through, and I know it's quite important history, and we are going to unravel more. However, do you believe that the immunity clause for presidents and former presidents should be probably reviewed and removed, if anything else?
Yes. Yes, because if you've done wrong, then be prepared to face the consequences. If you've done right, don't be afraid of it.
Have you all rallied for this? I believe you went to the reconciliation meeting.
I didn't.
You didn't?
I didn't.
So at this point, do you think you have a strong voice? I mean, you've met vice president, ambassadors, former president Charles Taylor. You've been everywhere. You've done it all. The current government, do you think your input will bring about change?
Change in what sense?
Looking into, because a lot of you are quiet.
Yes.
A lot of you are quiet, and I'm privileged to have you speak, the likes of Adabuga and Nana Adumaku. We have more to come. But do you think justice is still needed at this point? Because a lot of you are grieving, not just yourselves as the military people, but civilians. I spoke to the daughter of former Vice President Graft-Johnson, and she was only 10 years, and she saw everything. Don't you think it's about time you all come together and probably have these whole atrocities revisited, reviewed, and where justice needed to be served?
Yeah, I believe that. And if you let people get away with the wrongs that they've done, what justification is there for others who would commit the same offenses later on? So I believe that justice should be done. I mean, fortunately for me, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't even know where to start from.
Exactly, but as a lay person,
yes.
Do you think Kufuor did anything wrong? As a president? Yes, the former president. Did you think because he took over from Rawlings?
Yes.
All those implementation of these clauses,
yes,
he could have reviewed them?
Yes.
Do you think he failed to do those things?
You see, one of our issues in the country is the fact that every time there's something, oh, it's okay, just let it go, just let it go. There's that kind of attitude amongst us. And that tends to cover up some, a few guys who think that they can do whatever they want. Now, I'm sure he was influenced by something like that. I don't know. I mean, I wasn't in his government. I don't know what he got, what information he got or intelligence he got that he took the decision that he took. But I know that some people will just say, oh, it's okay. Like some of us. If we really want to go into detail and talk things, Ghana might not be the same. And we are very, very careful not to do that, not to create a situation where there's going to be a problem.
These are the same people walking very boldly and loud, making a lot of noise.
Yes.
And a lot of people are aggrieved by all those things.
Yes. So
are you not hurting your grandchildren? Are you not hurting the current generation and future generations?
Yes. I agree totally with you. I'm just giving you the reason why some of these things have stayed the way they are.
Right.
It's because of our attitude. Oh, it's okay, let it go. But I believe that people should be made to account for the wrongs that they've done. I mean, otherwise, where's the justice?
Exactly.
Like somebody asked me some time back, did I do anything that I think I shouldn't have done? I said yes and no. Then he said, what? I said, first of all, I made a lot of villages dig pit latrine within 2 weeks. And some of them didn't like it, but I forced them to do it. And that was because of outbreak of cholera. So using the force, is the part that I wish I hadn't used. But I didn't touch anybody. We made sure that it was just threatening. There was a point where I went to Adabuga and I had to tell the chiefs and whatnot, that they had to dig the pit latrines. Akwetia, we made them do it. The whole of the eastern region, apart from Koforidua, the whole of the eastern region, I'm sure you go to places and they will tell you that this is what we're doing. We just give you 2 weeks and ask you to dig 8 pit latrines, and we'll come and inspect. And sometimes I'll be cheeky to say that I'll take the best one to Bolga, because I don't want my people to dig. So, you dig and I'll take the best one. I mean, that's cheeky, but I wanted them to understand that we had to apply force in order for that to happen. For instance, food evacuation.
When you finally knew or got to notice that Rawlings was out of power,
yes,
what did you expect could have happened to him? I'm sure you were involved at the wrong time, at the wrong place, and was arrested, caught in the middle of all this. But he used you.
Yes.
Do you sincerely believe that he still deserved to be tried in a way?
Well,
because I'm sure you've witnessed a lot.
Yes. Yes, I mean, you see, someone can just say that I've done all this, I'm sorry. And that, you just take the I'm sorry and say, okay, let's forget it. But when the person does not want to see that they've been wrong, it makes stupid of the rest of us. You see, that's what hurts me. That you are wiser than the older people, you are wiser than the younger people. Who are you? You are not God. So you have to respect. That is my whole problem. You've got to respect one side or the other. But not respecting anybody, not showing any remorse is the part that will hurt people. And I think that whatever has to be used, if he has to be spoken to say that, watch what you are saying. You are hurting people. You've hurt people all these years. You are hurting people, and this is what is going to happen. Maybe that's what has to be done. I mean, there are people ahead of me, So it is difficult for me to say that I'm drumming my ideas ahead. You know, I'm going to push my agenda ahead. But I think that people are hurting and they need explanation. Look at the 10-year-old. And now, I mean, you can't change that. Meanwhile, some people, you know, they've got their children, all their children. I didn't see my children for years. I didn't see them for years. My home where I have my staff was all ransacked, you know. And there will be a point. I mean, what is it I want to do? Do I want to say, okay, let's forget about it and then move on? I probably would feel okay if somebody says, I'm sorry.
Okay.
But if you're not saying I'm sorry and you're still insulting people, that is wrong.
What do you do now?
Pardon?
What do you do now?
I'm a consultant. I do electronic security consultancy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you by any way thinking of getting into politics?
No
Would you
way.
consider it?
No way. I don't have the heart for it. I want to make sure that things are done. You know, and I can't come and tell you, oh, it will be all right, when I know it's not going to be all right. What I tell you is what it is. And I can't twist. So I'll be a bad politician.
I call you a general.
Pardon? You call me a general?
Yes.
Oh, I never got there. Never got past major.
I think you all deserve a huge respect. I believe you've done a lot for the country Ghana. And although most of you are quiet, it will be, I believe it is important for the youth now to hear a lot of the things that occurred so it's not repeated in the future. I would like to say a big thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
And I'm honored not to only speak to you, but to see you.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
It's like a living testimony. So I thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Guys, I think this is where time will bring us. We thank Captain, and I call him the General, for his time dedicated for the program. Join us same time next week. And remember, stay tuned to Andy D TV. Thank you and goodbye.